have you? You have excitement. You have romance. We have a leaky faucet and a roommate who uses all the hot water, Jana pointed out. But you have Jack. Helen winked. He's such a sweet boy, and so talented. He's a disaster. Chrissy laughed. Yesterday he tried to fix the toaster, and he accidentally magnetized the cutlery. Every time I try to eat soup, the spoon sticks to my watch. But despite the jokes, the three of them were a family. And like any family, they protected their own. When Stanley threatened to raise the rent because he saw too many lights on at night, Jack staged an elaborate power-saving demonstration that involved everyone sitting in the dark with flashlights, pretending to enjoy a game of charades. Stanley, watching through the window, was convinced they were part of a cult. Helen, I'm telling you, they're worshiping the shadows up there. It's not natural. It's just the 70s. Stanley, Helen sighed. Everything's a little bit dark. Epilogue, a note from the author. The story of Apartment 201 continues, a never-ending cycle of mistaken identities, slapstick heroism, and the enduring power of friendship. In the heart of Santa Monica, amidst the Mew-Mews and the Bell-Bottoms, three friends found that as long as they had each other and a way to keep Stanley Roper guessing, they could survive anything. The rendezvous was more than just an apartment. It was a sanctuary of laughter in a world that was often far too serious. Three's Company, a novel, based on the classic series. Prologue, 201 Adams Street. The sun was dipping below the Pacific horizon, casting long, amber shadows across the salt-worn boardwalks of Santa Monica. It was the mid-1970s, a time of flared trousers, avocado green appliances, and a burgeoning sense of social revolution that hadn't quite reached the hallways of the aging apartment complex managed by Stanley and Helen Roper. The air was thick with the scent of sea salt and car exhaust from the nearby Pacific Coast Highway, a constant hum that served as the soundtrack to 1,000 different lives. In Apartment 201, the atmosphere was uniquely volatile. The air was often heavy, with the conflicting sense of Jack's experimental cooking, frequently a mix of burnt garlic and cheap wine, and the delicate, floral perfume that clung to Jeanne after a long shift at the flower shop. This apartment was the epicenter of a social experiment that, by all legal and moral standards of the day, was a ticking time bomb. There was Jeanne Wood, the sensible florist with a sharp tongue and a heart of gold. She was the glue that held their chaotic household together, possessing a pragmatism that often clashed with the whimsy of her roommates. Then there was Chrissy Snow, the blonde secretary whose innocence was as vast as her misunderstanding of basic metaphors. She moved through life with a wide-eyed wonder that was as charming as it was exasperating. And finally, there was Jack Tripper, the culinary student who is currently living a double life. To the world, he was a budding chef. To his landlord, he was a man whose lack of interest in women was the only thing keeping them all from eviction. This is their story, a comedy of errors, a drama of secrets, and a testament to the fact that in a world trying to find its new identity, three is, indeed, company. Chapter 1, The New York Enigma. Stanley Roper was a man of simple needs and complex frustrations. His life consisted of a repetitive cycle, fixing leaky pipes, usually resulting in bigger leaks, dodging his wife Helen's romantic advances with the agility of a seasoned pugilist, and maintaining a strict, albeit hypocritical, moral code over his tenants. He viewed himself as the captain of a very small, very damp ship. When his niece, Karen, arrived from New York, Stanley didn't see a young woman looking for adventure in the Golden State. He saw a precious, fragile cargo that needed to be guarded like the gold in Fort Knox. New York was a den of iniquity, but California, in his mind, was a playground for freaks and weirdos. "Be quiet, Helen," Stanley hissed, pacing the cramped confines of their ground-floor apartment. The floorboards creaked under his weight, a sound he usually found comforting, but now found treacherous. "You're gonna wake Karen. She needs her rest." Helen Roper looked up from her emery board, her floral caftan shimmering in the dim evening light. She was a woman who lived for glamour in a world of linoleum. "Filing my nails is gonna wake up your niece. It's not the filing, Stanley, it's the breaking. Every time you break a nail, you swear loud enough to wake the dead. Honestly, I think the neighbors in 100 think we're running a construction site." "Just hold it down," Stanley grumbled, adjusting his checkered vest. "She flew in from New York. Jet lag is a serious medical condition. It affects the brain, Helen. I read it in a magazine." "I marry jet lag," Helen muttered under her breath, her eyes returning to her nails. She watched her husband with a mixture of affection and pity. He was a man whose idea of a wild night was checking the tire pressure on his sedan or reorganizing his wrench collection. "You're more like her jailer than her uncle, Stanley. She's young. She should be out meeting people, seeing the sights, maybe even, heaven forbid, dating. Dating. In this city?" Stanley's voice rose in defensive indignation. "I took her to Disneyland. We saw the mouse." "Helen, the mouse. I took her to the museum." We walked to the end of the pier until her shoes got salty.